L2 Empuraan is the wildly ambitious, relentlessly audacious, somewhat delirious and unapologetically ostentatious follow-up to the 2019 blockbuster Lucifer. Director Prithviraj Sukumaran and writer Murali Gopy go for broke, creating a world in which Kerala politics are intertwined with global intelligence agencies, drug cartels, double agents, and a political leader who underneath the Neta garb is a terrifying mass murderer who unleashes violence in the name of religion. Empuraan is designed to work as a popcorn entertainer, but its chief architects also layer in social commentary. This is a film that bats for secularism. In the first film, one of Stephen Nedumpally's most iconic lines was that the battle is not between good and evil, it's between evil and evil. And the worst evil on display in Empuraan is extremism. The film portrays horrific communal violence and it ends with a definition of who a real Hindustani is. But mostly, Empuraan is a flamboyant, globe-trotting yarn. The film begins in a ghost town in Iraq and then travels to London, China, Yemen, Senegal, south of France, and of course, Kerala. Stephen has been away for 5 years. Jathin Ramdas, played by Tovino Thomas, is now the Chief Minister and head of the 150-year-old IUF party. He was placed in this position of power by Stephen, but it isn't going as planned. Meanwhile, his sister Priyadarshini, played by the formidable Manju Warrior, is watching from the sidelines as her brother fumbles. As the state's politics fall into further disarray, Govardhan, the truth-seeking vlogger played by Indrajith Sukumaran, pleads on YouTube for Stephen to return and save God's own country. He does that in glorious fashion. In Empuraan, more is more. Prithviraj revels in the sleek surfaces of helicopters, of course, but also guns and yachts and aerial shots of rows of gleaming cars turning corners. For his superstar Mohanlal, he designs not one, but several set-piece sequences with slow-motion walking and specific gestures. This is a film heavily invested in mythologizing its leading man. And the actor finds the sweet spot between melancholy and cool. For most of the film, he's in stylish leather jackets and sunglasses. Black is the dominant note for Lucifer. But the gravitas is so inbuilt that Mohanlal can accomplish a great deal with just a look or the movement of a shoulder. I found myself grinning broadly in many of these superhero moments. It's all logic-defying, whistle-worthy movie fun. Prithviraj plays Stephen's right-hand man, Zayed Masood, and he also gives himself a sharp entry with these doves flying around, perhaps inspired by John Woo. Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy is another obvious inspiration. The real accomplishment is that beyond the style and snazzy camera work by cinematographer Sujit Vasudev, Prithviraj manages to weave a story that is gripping and coherent, at least in the first half. The action moves across continents and timelines. Several new characters are introduced, but the stakes stay high and clear. Eventually, however, this high-wire act becomes difficult to sustain. L2 Empuraan runs for 3 hours, and post-interval, the plot starts to feel stretched and the action overcooked. Also, while we're all willing to suspend disbelief, some of the narrative is just too pointedly absurd. In one sequence, Priyadarshini, clearly a woman with means and power, is attacked and the police arrives much later, like it used to in movies in the 1970s and 80s. The other fault line is that the screenplay gets so twisted that the character arcs suffer. It's hard to understand why Jathin evolves the way he has, or why Suraj Venjaramudu, a superb actor, has so little to do, or what Govardhan's real role is apart from being whisked abroad to meet Stephen. His captors thoughtfully provide him with a Louis Vuitton shawl. Eventually, it becomes exhausting watching men die and bones getting broken in different ways. This is the stretch when it feels like Prithviraj has become too enamored with his own world building and Murali with his ponderous philosophizing about leadership, politics and progeny. So much so that even the impact of the climax, some nicely choreographed dual action with Stephen and Zayed, gets diluted. And yet, L2 Empuraan doesn't feel like a placeholder in the way that too many second parts of trilogies do. Prithviraj manages to move the story with bold flourishes which don't always land, but I enjoyed the daring in it. L3, The Beginning, inevitably will move backward to give us the origin story of Stephen. I'm excited because despite the bumps, this franchise has enlarged the boundaries of Malayalam cinema. If you like this review, do subscribe to The Hollywood Reporter India.